Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping straight into a really high-stakes European clash. It's more than just 90 minutes on the pitch. You've got history, culture, modern tactics, all kind of colliding right there. And the focus for this deep dive, it's a fascinating matchup. Benfica versus Bayern Munich.
Yeah, a classic contrast, really. You have this historic club, Benfica, against a modern powerhouse.
Exactly. Benfica steeped in history, known for resilience, that incredible knack for developing talent.
And they always seem hungry on the European stage.
And then Bayern, the Bundesliga giants, right?
Okay.
Synonymous with ruthless efficiency, immense squad depth, just relentless.
Absolutely. A different beast altogether.
So our mission here is pretty clear. Give you the shortcut to understanding what really happened on the pitch. Not just the score, but the tactics, the key moments, and maybe what it tells us about these two teams moving forward in Europe.
It's a great matchup to unpack for exactly that reason. Because their core identities, they really shape how they approach the game. You know, Benfica carries that weight of history, that legacy. They often favor possession, building patiently, and they've got this philosophy of trusting young talent. They were definitely looking to make a statement against a giant like Bayern.
And Bayern's statement is usually about dominance, isn't it?
Pretty much. Their pedigree in the Champions League speaks for itself. The objective is always clear. Impose their game, get the result, secure progression, push toward that trophy. It's just ingrained in the club.
Which really sets it up as the ultimate clash of footballing philosophies.
It does. And you see how those core identities directly influence their on-field approach, their tactics.
Okay, so let's unpack how Benfica, under Roger Schmidt, tried to contain this Bayern machine. How did they set up?
Well, Schmidt's quite pragmatic. He knew they couldn't just go toe-to-toe with Bayern's speed and attacking power in a wide-open game. That would be playing into their hands.
Right. Suicide mission, almost.
Kind of, yeah. So what was fascinating was his approach to neutralize Bayern's strengths. Benfica lined up in a 4-2-3-1. The idea seemed to be controlling the middle, pressing smartly when they could. A big focus was on creating midfield overloads, specifically trying to limit Joshua Kimmich's influence on the ball because he dictates so much of Bayern's play.
Makes sense. Cut off the supply line.
Exactly. And you saw them using quick diagonal switches, trying to stretch Bayern using their fullbacks, Bomarado. Defensively, they kept a really tight shape. The wingers were narrow, tracking back, doubling up on Bayern's wide threats like Sani or Coman. It was all about frustrating Bayern, making it difficult for them to find space.
Okay, so a calculated, compact approach from Benfica. Now, on the flip side, Bayern's game plan. Often described as relentless pressure. How do they look to break Benfica down? Whether it was Nagelsmann or Tuchel in charge, that high-intensity style seems consistent.
Yeah, that core philosophy runs deep. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Bayern's system is built to overwhelm you from, well, pretty much every angle. They also often use a 4-2-3-1, but it's a very aggressive version. It's about blending with direct vertical attacks. So you'd have Leroy Sané and Kingsley Coman stretching the pitch wide.
Creating those one-on-one situations.
Precisely. And while they're doing that, you've got someone like Jamal Musiala floating cleverly between the lines, pulling defenders out, creating confusion. And crucially, there's the gauge pressing. That immediate, intense pressure the second they lose the ball, it aims to win it back high up, stop any counter before it even starts.
It really suffocates teams, doesn't it?
It does. Plus, you have Alphonso Davies bombing forward from left back on those overlapping runs, Sani cutting inside. And then the movement of the striker, maybe Kane or Muller, dropping deeper in that false nine role. That constantly unsettled center backs disrupts their shape.
So it sounds like a real chess match. Bayern dominating the ball, Benfica trying to stay compact and hit on the break.
That was pretty much the dynamic. Bayern had most of the possession, probing patiently, but Benfica, to their credit, did show some sharp moments on the counter. It made for a really interesting tactical battle, patience versus pressure.
And that battle really came alive in the key moments. Let's walk through those turning points. Things kicked off quite early, around the 15th minute.
Yeah, that was Bayern striking first. It was a really clinical move. Sane used his pace brilliantly down the wing, got past his man.
He's so dangerous when he does that.
He is. And he squared it perfectly for Harry Kane, who just calmly slotted it home. 1-0 Bayern. That early goal always shifts the dynamic, forces the other team to maybe come out a bit more.
Definitely puts the pressure on. But Benfica didn't just fold, did they? There was a moment later in the first half.
No, they didn't fold. Around the 34th minute, Rafa Silva produced a bit of magic. He kind of danced through midfield, great close control, and then unleashed this curling shot aimed for the top corner.
Ooh, close.
Very close. Manuel Neuer had to pull off a fantastic fingertip save to push it just over the bar. That was a real warning shot from Benfica, a reminder that they carried a threat.
Sent a message for sure. Okay, so fast forward to the second half. It felt like Benfica came out with renewed energy.
They definitely did. Schmidt made some changes, bringing on substitutes who injected some life. Angel Di Maria, in particular, started linking up really nicely with Gonzalo Ramos up front.
Ah, Di Maria's quality.
Exactly. His experience, his vision. Suddenly, Benfica were creating half chances, putting Bayern under a bit more pressure. You could say the Eagles really started to fly for a period there. They were pushing hard for that equalizer.
But Bayern weathered that storm.
They did. And then, around the 70th minute, they pretty much sealed it. Joshua Kimmich picked up the ball outside the box.
Oh, I remember this one.
Yeah. He just unleashed an absolute rocket. Incredible precision, power, pure technique. It flew into the net. A classic German efficiency, you might say, in killing the game off. 2-0 Bayern.
And that really took the wind out of Benfica's sails.
It did. After that, Bayern managed the game well. The final whistle went 2-0. Benfica showed resilience, definitely spirit, but Bayern's overall structure, their execution, and let's be honest, their depth, it just proved decisive in the end.
So, stepping back from the minute by minute, what does this match really tell us? What are the bigger takeaways about these clubs in the European context?
Well, this match raises an important question, I think, about what it truly takes to win at the absolute elite level. Firstly, Benfica showed real grit. Okay, they lost, but they frustrated Bayern for long periods. They generated chances. It shows they belong at this level in Europe's top tier. That resilience is part of their DNA, isn't it?
Absolutely. They have that history of fighting hard.
Then you look at Bayern, their depth is just scary. They bring on players like Serge Gnabry, Leon Goretzka, Mathis Tel from the bench. These aren't just squad players. They're top-quality options.
Yeah, game changers waiting in the wings.
Exactly. It allows for incredible rotation, keeping players fresh, maintaining intensity. That squad depth is a massive advantage in the Champions League grind.
It's like they're playing football, but also kind of a game of human chess simultaneously. And you mentioned tactical adaptability earlier. That seemed key for Bayern, too?
It absolutely was. The coaching staff, whether Nagelsmann or Tuchel, made those second-half adjustments, like shifting Musiala wider for a bit. That tweak helped stretch Benfica's defense differently, maybe created that extra bit of space for Kimmich to exploit for his goal. That's elite-level game management.
Right. Reading the game and reacting.
Precisely. On the flip side, though, for Benfica, despite creating those moments, those half chances, they just lacked that killer edge in the final third.
That clinical finishing touch.
Yeah, partly finishing, but also maybe the final pass sometimes, or the decision-making in those crucial moments under pressure. It just highlights that need for perhaps a really top-tier finisher to convert those chances consistently against the best defenses in Europe. That might be the next step for them.
Interesting point. Okay, let's zoom in on individual performances. There was one player who really stood out, wasn't there?
Without a doubt, Joshua Kimmich was man of the match.
Yeah. Hard to argue with that.
He just controlled the tempo from midfield, dictated the play, broke up attacks, showed incredible composure, and then, of course, scored that absolute stunner. He's the heartbeat of that Bayern team, a leader, just immense.
The complete midfield performance. Okay, let's bring in some numbers. The stat corner. What did the statistics tell us about how this game played out?
Well, the stats really back up the narrative we've been discussing. Possession. Bayern had 62%, Benfica 38%. That shows Bayern's control of the ball.
Significant difference.
It is. Shots on target reflected that too. Bayern 8, Benfica 4, and maybe more telling, the expected goals, or XG.
Ah, yes, the quality of chances metric.
Exactly. Bayern's XG was around 2.4, while Benfica's was 1.1. So Bayern weren't just having more shots, they were creating significantly better quality scoring opportunities.
That paints a clear picture of attacking threat. What about passing?
Bayern's pass accuracy was exceptional, 91%. Benfica's still good at 83%, but that difference highlights Bayern's efficiency and security in possession. One interesting one. Fouls. Benfica committed more, 14 to Bayern's 10.
Suggesting that defensive effort, trying to disrupt Bayern's rhythm.
I think so, yeah. It reflects their committed effort to break up play, that physical approach to try and stop Bayern building momentum. But as the scoreline showed, it wasn't quite enough against Bayern's overall quality and control.
So those numbers really do illustrate the story that Bayern's control, efficiency, and superior chance creation, despite Benfica's determined resistance.
Perfectly put. The stats confirm what our eyes told us about the tactical dynamics and the ultimate outcome.
What a fascinating deep dive this has been. Really highlights that a match like this is so much more than the final score. It's tactics, it's mentality, it's that elite level execution under pressure.
Definitely. And you see glimpses from Benfica despite the loss. That brilliance, that resilience. If they build on this, they have the potential to go far in Europe. They've got the foundation.
Yeah, they showed they can trouble the best, even if just for periods.
Hmm.
And Bayern, well, they just keep marching on, don't they? Like a machine. Efficient, aggressive, relentless. Their eyes are clearly fixed on that big prize.
It's going to be very interesting to see how both teams progress from here.
Yeah.
Bayern look formidable, as always.
All right, to wrap things up, we always like to leave you, our listeners, with something to think about, a provocative thought, if you will. So, based on everything we've unpacked today about this Benfica-Bayern clash, do you think Benfica has what it takes to reach, say, a Champions League semifinal in the next couple of seasons? And if you do, what specific improvements, maybe especially in that final third we talked about, would be absolutely crucial for them to actually get there? Something to chew on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Stay passionate, stay curious, and keep enjoying the beautiful game.